welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your other host, Leslie, bringing you, the third season of The Deadlights?
We're back again, y'all. You couldn't keep us away.
No, and we couldn't. We couldn't stay away.
We couldn't. I mean, we needed our dose of horrors. They need their dose of horrors. So we're back for you. We're back for ourselves. And also, we're back in a brand new space.
What? I couldn't tell.
Brand new set. Yeah. If you're watching, things might look a little different than last season. We have migrated out of my room and went to Leslie's place now in her little studio. So I think it's looking pretty good so far.
I like it. It looks a little theatrical with a little bit of blood.
Yes.
And then our faces are right over here.
Oh, that was us?
That's
Center stage?
We're a little zombified.
Hell yeah. No, it's great. I think it's perfect. We've been wanting to display that picture for a while, but in the last space, it was a little tight, I'll say.
Yeah, but also lots of really cool things that you had on your bookshelf.
Yes,
so.
it had its own flair for sure. This season, we're just going to get a little more relaxed into it. You might see the set change over the season because we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so don't get too accustomed to what you're seeing if you are seeing it.
Yes.
If you're just hearing us, then don't mind us.
Yeah, don't mind that.
We're having a good time just kind of sitting here, relaxing.
Yeah, you'll hear the same old voices. It's the same Sam and Leslie this season.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah, we changed a lot over the last couple of months. Our voices changed a lot.
Whoa, yeah.
And obviously something that has not changed at all. We're still weird.
I have not.
That hasn't changed.
I'm just going to, I'm going to speak for myself. I've definitely gotten weirder, I believe. Mm-hmm.
And that's cool.
I'm uncovering a lot of things.
I mean, this podcast is a place for all us weirdos to come and talk about the thing that we love the most, which is horror movies. So yeah, we're glad you're back. Welcome back to the Deadlights. Besides the set, it's still the same old horror critiquing podcast that you love with us. And obviously, as the season goes on, you'll have probably some familiar faces come in for guests, maybe some new faces. So I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm excited for those folks to join us.
Yeah, see what happens over this third season. And if you watch the end of the last season, you will know the movie that we picked, which was Synchronic, as our premiere film that we are reviewing from 2019, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Justin Benson. Two New Orleans paramedics' lives are ripped apart after they encounter a series of horrific deaths linked to a designer drug with bizarre, otherworldly effects. Mm-hmm. I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say it definitely was designer.
It was designer. It was otherworldly. It was drugs. And just to start off, talking about this movie in general, I think it's actually kind of cool that this is our first episode of the third season, because this is also within a quote-unquote trilogy of movies that we have covered over the first two seasons. So to be watching the third movie in that series for the beginning of our third season, I think is pretty cool. Very cool.
Wow.
And I put air quotes in the trilogy because we're not following the same characters or even really the same storyline, but we are set within the same world that Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead have created in Resolution, and then The Endless, and now in Synchronic, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Definitely still talks about drugs, talks about a cyclical kind of mindset that you get into if you are not healing. And there's still lots of those kind of conversations. But in this one, just carried more so in the sense of now when you're in a partnership, you have kids, if you're stuck, how can you work that out within yourself and your partner?
They are absolutely in all three of these movies talking about time. That's a big thing. And how we use it and how we waste it. And, you know, as humans, when you kind of realize that, what are the things that you do to try to save time and get back the time that you lost, that you regretted. And so I think that all three of those movies are talking about that. And for it to be a trilogy, I think it absolutely makes sense. When you look at all three of these movies, they really are talking about a lot of the same things. And it's cool that we have, you know, first of all, that we get to see the progression of these filmmakers really setting into their style and their aesthetic. We see through these three movies, but also just see how, you know, what they're dealing with probably, and the ideas that they're exploring, and taken from three different perspectives, because we're following three different storylines within these movies. And it's all kind of just an examination of how these different characters and people all deal with time and deal with regrets and deal with trauma. So I think looking at all three of these movies separately, you can definitely see how they all still come together in the end. And shout out to Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, you know, for doing that and for developing themselves as filmmakers. And now they are making Marvel things. They are the executive producers of Loki season 2.
Insane.
Which is awesome.
That is pretty cool.
And for having these filmmakers that we've seen come from a very indie movie like Resolution to now they're in Marvel, hats off to them. Really cool.
The clock just keeps ticking down, and the lower that number gets, you realize how fucking amazing now is.
Should we just jump into this thing?
Let's jump in.
For the first time in season 3, let's get into the
can.
can. We're talking about the filmmaking. We're talking about the filmmakers and their aesthetics. So I think this is a perfect transition. And like I said, it seems like from the first Resolution to Synchronic, they've really honed in onto the style that they really like, which they make very pretty films. They really do. The cinematography is always on point.
The color of it was also really smooth and pretty. It wasn't like all too bright, although there were some like flashing lights because there were medics. But yeah, like it looked good. Yeah,
it definitely looked good. They like playing with these long takes, long shots, like just sitting in moments, really, between two characters or with a character by themselves. And they like letting those moments breathe and build. And I think that's great, especially for an actor, too. The medic world is an interesting one. And I think that it's interesting that the two leads are paramedics, because it's a very much, first of all, like you said, chaotic, you know, sometimes very confusing occupation, because you're stepping into a situation that's different every single time. You never know what you're going to get. It's very disorienting. And they're living on this line between life and death. You know, they're very much, I thought of them as like the ferryman that like takes a person from the living world to hell, and they're living on that line in between life and death.
I love that that connection.
It can't be not stressful.
The tiniest percentage is sudden death. And that's our business, man. We're seeing the exceptional ones. And in death, the wild cards of fate are the exceptional ones. But in life, all that crazy shit that happens before you die, there's always infinite possibilities.
And it's as confusing to us as it is to them. So the use of like the kind of shaky camera, tracking camera, I think was very smart, because it really sets us in that disorienting, you never know what you're going to get when you step on a scene. And also you mentioned the colors too. And I noticed that there was a lot of plays with blues and oranges, where typically it'd be like the orange was like the fill light, and then the blues were like the backlights or something like that. And it really, because we're talking about a film about time, it really, to me, kind of, it was a blending of night and day, because the blue is like the night, the orange is like the bright day, and they're using them together. And in a movie where we're talking about time and how you use it and life and death, them mixing that was another almost like visual cue of things are going to be blending together in this film. And they certainly did.
Yeah.
They certainly did.
Also, just like blue just looks so good with darker skin. It just like highlights their skin just like so much more than like, you know, white lighting.
That was a great choice by them. And also because the main character is Anthony Mackie, blues and oranges and purples too play off of black skin so much better. And for 100 years of making movies, filmmakers didn't know how to light black people because they just weren't in movies as often. So now we're getting to a point where we actually understand how to light darker skinned people.
You just have to, you know, reverse what we've been doing for lighter skin. It's kind of like watercoloring, you know? And I think that's just so like beautiful, and I don't know, the imagery of it just is so powerful.
Yeah. And it also, I think too, sets us within kind of a surreal world too, just from the lighting, where obviously the story is surreal, but between the colors and the shots, some of them going in reverse, some of them upside down, they do a very good job of making what we think of as the real world feel very surreal. And that, I think, also mixed with the music too, kind of sets us in this
disorienting,
very disorienting and very sci-fi kind of world, even though it still is, we're not going to space, we're still on Earth, but everything that they're doing is making it feel bigger than life, not real, hyper reality almost. I think that very well transitions us into the meat.
You know, I'm good at that.
These transitions are seamless.
Because
we're talking about time, and we're also talking about drugs, and also we're talking about trauma. We're talking about people dealing with their shit or not dealing with their shit, as we usually see in these movies.
Doubts, man, they never go away. You know, you think the wedding day is going to dissolve that, and it is profound, but, you know, the doubts, they never go.
I get it, bro. You're a guy in a relationship. I haven't felt anything but whiskey and a hard dick in a decade.
You're a blessed man.
How time really works is everything almost happening at the same time. It's just perception is what gets in the way of seeing how it actually works. And then the thing that breaks that is this designer drug. It's a factory-made tool for us to go back in time.
I love the metaphor that the chemist used.
You drop the needle on the song you want to play, but they're all always there. These tracks are like time. Synchronic is the needle.
And then on top of it, because we're talking about popping around time traveling, we have characters that have a lot of regrets in their life and have a lot of trauma in their life. And both of these characters, I think, fucking hate their lives, and they are not dealing with the things that they've gone through in healthy ways. They're going to strip clubs, they're staying out all night, they're drinking.
And one of them has a family.
Yeah.
And married.
And he talks about how, like, the regret almost of being in that married life.
You can't deal with reality. See pop pills and get wasted every night? The reality you can't deal with is you're a 40-something child and I've wasted half my life on bullshit loyalty.
I'm so fucking tired of you complaining. You're disappointed in everybody around you. All you do is complain about your fucking wife, who's obviously too good for you, and you don't give a shit about your family.
You don't know what the other person is going through. But like when you look at their life, you're like, or like, you know, the surface, you're like, damn, like I wish I had their life and I wish I wasn't going through mine. And then here's the other person looking at you and being like, damn, I wish I had their life. That seems like everything's going well over there. And that was going on. Steve was looking at Dennis and was like, what the fuck do you have to like complain about? You're married to someone who loves you. You have children that, you know, seem to be doing pretty good. I don't see why you're having such a hard time. And then here was Dennis being like, man, single life must be real good.
Just so you know, my life sucks.
Come on.
I'm serious, man. It's no fun. You might see James Bond, but I experienced Charlie Sheen, all right? What you and Tara have, even with all the fights, the ups and downs, the doubts, I take that shit in a heartbeat.
You're right, though. It's like this whole like grass is always greener kind of concept. And that then just makes them hate themselves. Mm-hmm. And then when you hate yourself, you're putting your own medicine on top of it. For them, it was drinking and smoking and going to strip clubs, trying to live in this like unreality, you know, trying to live outside of their own lives, which is essentially just burying all the stuff that they should be dealing with. And then what do you know? We have this designer drug that comes along and it allows you to time travel. And for them, where this movie starts, I think that they would both be like, oh, sick. I can go back in time and, you know, live a different life than what I have right now, which is all that I want. But as soon as that starts to happen for these characters, they immediately realize like what they have in the present. And that's the whole like irony of like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. That's the whole irony of time travel. You think you want to be somewhere else, sometime else, but it ultimately makes you realize what you actually do have in the present. And I think that was mostly Dennis's character. As soon as he lost his daughter, who ended up time traveling by accident, he realized all the shit that he did have.
When you're staring down at the end, you realize there are things that are far worse than death. And none of those things are what you were upset about.
There was this very smart tie that they made between trauma and time traveling. And they did that in the last couple movies too. In Resolution and in The Endless, it was kind of the same thing.
Well, that is where your mind is at when you are trying to process what has happened in your life. And you keep asking yourself, what if the circumstances were different? Would I have been in a better place? Would I have been so much further into my like career, or I wouldn't have these kind of problems? And you're always having to, not having to, but in my experience, I jumped to the past and wondered, what if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? What if like I had healthy life? But you know, you can't keep jumping to the past if you are trying to set yourself up for the future. You are taking so many steps backwards when you should be in the present dealing with things, so then in the future you can be there.
Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to be here. We can get another paramedic to come in.
I don't want to go home. I want to fucking work.
Yeah, but you and Tara should be together.
We should probably get to the cook.
Yeah,
how they're actually
let's cook it up.
presenting these things for these characters. And we kind of already talked about how what each character is dealing with. I mean, Dennis is going through a lot of life changes. He just had a child. They had a baby. Mm-hmm. Also, his 18-year-old kid is missing, but also she's at a point where she's going to college. So that is another big life change that I think he's dealing with too. And obviously she's dealing with it. And it's like this, it's this thing of time where you want it to slow down, but also speed up. at the exact same time. Because for Dennis, I think he wants it to slow down before his child goes off to college. It's a very scary thing. For Steve, who's learned that he might have a tumor at the beginning, he doesn't really know. He wants time to speed up so he can get those answers, you know? Mm-hmm. But what happens when time speeds up is you miss the things that you are living in the present because you're just thinking about the future. So like I said before, I think that they did a very smart thing in the writing of these characters to have us see both sides of that, of wanting to slow down time, but also wanting time to speed up.
Yeah. And these characters, all, at least for the most part, the characters that were taking the Synchronic drug, they were all young. And so if they are trying to say something with this, is that, you know, like us as us. I'm still categorizing myself as a young person.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not quite there yet. Not to offend anybody. But there is a sense of immortality when we're in our 20s. We are adults. We're making choices on our own for ourselves. And we don't have, like, we're not thinking about our lives in the sense of it could end because, like, we
have our whole lives ahead of us.
Yeah. We're young, you know,
live it up, right?
So, like, what is this line or two of cocaine gonna do?
Right. There's no thought.
There's no sense of just
consequences.
Really. And that's the thing that adults are trying to drive in 20-year-olds is like, you are young, take advantage of it, but also live your life. Like,
yeah, it's this weird, and that's, I think they do a very good job of showing that in this movie because you're right. All the people that are taking the drug and, you know, straddling time essentially are younger people. And then you have Anthony Mackie, who they make a point to say that the gland that this drug affects to make you be able to see through the parameters of time or whatever, his is like a child's. So that's why he can go back in time.
Synchronic messes with the pineal, so you experience time as it actually is, rather than the linear, the one event after another way that we normally experience it. Adults partially go, appearing like ghosts in the past, but kids, since their pineal gland hasn't calcified, they physically go to another time entirely.
He is kind of that, like, I guess, missing link of, like, having the experience of adults and understanding that there are consequences to your actions, but still being able to do this thing that only young people can do. And that, again, it's like this very ironic and very, the duality of this time travel thing is when you're young, you don't have the experience to understand the ramifications of your actions. But then when you do get older and you understand consequences, you wish you could go back and have that ignorant bliss. Mm-hmm. So again, we're talking about people who are on two different sides of coins looking at the other side, wishing that they could do that. Mm-hmm. When in reality, they should just be living in that moment that they are in.
My brain has a tumor. And all those things just seem trivial.
The really, like, great representation conversation that I thought was really empowering is the conversation that Dennis had with his wife, and that, you know, they were out rescuing people in Katrina and that disaster, and Steve runs into these coffins that carried his family.
2 of them were his parents, and 1 was his little sister, Dana. And Dana was just a kid when she died. And when we came across her coffin, it had been opened by looters. And seeing her tiny remains, all I could think about was Brianna, and I literally passed out.
And it was Dennis that passed out as opposed to, and Steve. And that to me makes so much sense that, I don't know if I would be able to deal with the things that you have dealt with, and you wouldn't be able to deal with the things that I have dealt with. Mm-hmm. And we handle each of our own trauma differently.
And when I came to on the porch, Steve was asking if I was okay. If I was okay. And I got up and I was leaning against one of those rich assholes' Roman columns while Steve watched his little sister being dragged out in her coffin to the truck to join his parents.
Well, and I think that is kind of the point, that you're getting at too, because later there's a conversation between Steve and Dennis where Steve, I'm going to butcher the line, but I'll cut to the clip so y'all can hear it.
You know the difference between your life and mine? Do you want to know what the difference really is?
What?
Random events, chance, and luck.
The mere fact that we've all are experiencing our own experiences is what makes us similar. And people can feel so lonely in their lives and in what they're going through, but they forget that the person next to you also is going through their own things and their own shit.
Give her a break, man. She worked during the day with lawyers. Stay up all night with the kids, then have to deal with your ugly mug.
The unity that we can find is sometimes in trauma. The fact that we've all gone through trauma.
Trauma bonding is a real thing, and it is something when you are going through your healing journey, you're trying to find other folks that have not gone through the same thing as you, but at least understand you, because you're looking around and you're just like, well, fuck, all these people around me look so happy. I need folks that are able to have that conversation with me, that I can cry with and stuff. And it's like, well, ask them. Yeah. Ask the people around you that you have in your life currently, and be like, hey, do you have a moment to talk about this? And we're not as alone as we think we make ourselves believe that we are.
Yeah, exactly.
What a episode this is.
Synchronic, it's heavy. They're dealing with some heavy stuff, and I think they deal with it very well. How they're cooking these themes, it doesn't, I don't know, it's funny with, I think it was the same in Resolution and in The Endless, where these ideas and concepts that Benson and Moorhead are putting in there seem simple, and they are kind of addressing them in somewhat simple ways, but they lead to these very complicated conversations that I think that is the brilliance of some of their movies, is that these ideas and concepts of trauma and not dealing with your shit, that does on the surface seem very simple ideas for a movie to be based off of, but how they present it just makes this very rich and intriguing conversation that we can have around these movies. I think they're very smart filmmakers, because they're not hitting us over the head with these things. They're giving it enough for us to then pick it up and put our own experiences on it and be able to talk about it even more and feel like we're connecting with them even more. I think that they're very smart. They're very smart in what they choose to put in films and leave out. In The Cook, the last thing that I did want to bring up which unfortunately is a little bit of a negative thing, is the casting. Dennis, I think actually all the actors are really good. I thought that the performances were all very genuine. Dennis doesn't seem old enough to have an 18-year-old child, and his 18-year-old child seems way older than 18.
Yeah.
It was a little missed casting, I thought.
Yeah.
They either needed to make... I think they needed to make Dennis older. I think they needed to cast an older person for that role.
Yeah.
Don't have kids 18 years apart, dude. Well, you can't because we're old as fuck, but gotta keep that window slim.
Here's a man who's been kind of going through the motions in his life, getting a wife, having a kid, getting a house, the monotony kind of what life can become. But he seemed like he was 30, like his mid 30s.
Like 32.
He seemed like he was our age almost.
Yeah.
Like it was. I wish that they had him be a little older so that idea of kind of regretting somewhat your life almost hits home even more. Because if it was an older guy, then you're kind of like, oh my God, he's quote unquote wasted, at least in his mind, wasted a lot more time.
She seems happy.
Yeah. No.
The ending.
The ending was interesting. The ending was very interesting. I think that it was a little like Ghost of the Past.
It
like,
was the letter that Einstein wrote.
Yeah.
Do you know the letter Einstein wrote to his dear friend Michaela Beso's wife after he passed away? He said, "Now he has departed this strange world a little ahead of me. This means nothing. The distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion."
But I hated it.
It was a little cheesy. It was a little cheesy.
Did
Like
it?
he's like halfway in this time, halfway in a different time, and we are shaking hands.
I wish this is my alternative ending. Because to me it was too much on the nose.
Yeah.
I wished and unrealistic. I mean, I know that we were traveling through a fucking synthetic drug. Okay. All right. But I mean, he did see his dog. There was a lapse. If we're talking about time travel and we're trying to say that everything is like interwoven, then okay. Yes, it could have happened, I guess. But for the sake of the ending, I wish that he could just be, Steve were to have sat on the rock and just kind of like take it in. And then for Dennis to make his way to the rock and kind of through feeling could have made that connection and given themselves that fucking handshake.
I agree. I don't think we didn't need to see this moment of like them touching. Like it was the rock. It was that like point that connected them. And yeah, I agree. We just need Steven on the rock and then Dennis at the rock. It does the same thing.
It does.
It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same moment without this like Ghost of Christmas Past fucking handshake.
I hated it.
It was weird.
Because, look, my fiance collects a lot of rocks. His dad is an archaeologist and his wife as well. So he gives us a lot of precious stones and gems and all these beautiful things. And just by holding a rock, you are, I know it's going to sound like a nerd, but you are holding the past. It is time travel. It took so much for that rock to have existed. And for it to have been made, and especially a fucking boulder that hasn't moved, that in itself is time travel. So like for them to have just sat there with that moment would have been beautiful. I think we would have gotten the same reaction, but I don't know if the producers of this shit were like, no, we need them to shake hands.
That was the most spoon. And that's what I kind of think. Like the producers might have been like, well, audiences aren't going to get the ending. So you got to have them like see each other and shake hands. It's like, no, we don't need that. And also like we kind of knew that Steve wasn't going to come back. Like he only had 2 pills. And
we've been counting.
They've been counting us down in the movie of like, I only have 5 left. Oh, I only have 3 left. Oh, this is the last pill. Like we understand.
We're going to keep that shit in mind. And even if you forget, you know, like you're going to get there, you're just going to be like, oh my God, he only has 1. Oh no. You know, it's going to be more devastating for you. But like if you're on it, like we were, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ugh.
You also hated it. Okay.
That was a bad moment. That was not a good moment.
That's it. We can get into the thrill now.
All right, let's get to the thrill. The scariness of this. And honestly, I thought one of the scariest part was the opening scene where we're seeing these 2 people who are just random characters take the pill for the first time. It's very eerie. It's very creepy. And they do a good job of making those moments of coming in and out of time scary because you don't know where you're going to end up. And you also don't know if you're going to get back. So all the time travel moments I thought were pretty cool.
I got creeped out by the same people, but the guy went to go and grab ice, and he was found at the bottom of the shaft. A little context warning: absolutely dismantled.
Oh,
yeah. Limbs all over the place, but he had this bright smile.
Yeah.
In his face.
Yeah.
That creeped me out.
Very creepy. Very, very creepy.
And I was just like, ooh, where are we going to go from there? No, it was mostly time travel.
I think it was just creepy. That was just a creepy thing. But yeah, you're right. Like for a while, I think this movie does function very well on the mystery of what is going on and how they unfold the mystery of the drug and what people are doing as far as time traveling. I think keeps it tense, and how they're unfolding the story keeps us engaged and keeps us feeling like on the edge of our seat because we're like, ooh, what's the next thing going to be? I think that the movie does a very good job of keeping us tense. And I think too, one of the things that works for it is the music. The music is almost like wall to wall. And it's this very kind of ethereal, a lot of droning kind of music.
Okay, where's Brianna and what did she take?
She took the fake ayahuasca from the store when she was sitting right there.
But you notice when it cuts out. Like you notice the scenes where it's not there, which to me makes that scene more tense. Because when there's no music, the thing that we've been used to this whole time, you're like, why is there no music? Like, what's going to happen? So I think they use the lack of music to build that tension, which is kind of the opposite of what a lot of movies do. They use music to build tension, whereas this movie took the music out to make you feel tense. I thought that was a great choice, and I don't know how they did it, but they did it well. It was great. And I don't think I would say, like, even going back to like Resolution and The Endless, this movie included, I don't think that their movies are scary. Like I was not like shaking with fear, but it brings those conversations up of like real life scary things. And it certainly makes me feel tense, and makes me feel uncomfortable, which is what they want to do.
It makes me think about where I'm at. And it makes me think about my decisions a little bit more.
There's that great moment in Resolution where the main character finds that man in his trailer who's smoking the red flower or whatever, which they do make reference to in this movie. And he has the mirror, and he's just flipping that mirror over and over. And we keep seeing the main character like flash in that mirror. And that's what these movies are doing. They're turning a mirror on us, and it's forcing us to think about our actions and our lives. And they do that to anyone who's watching these movies. So I agree with you. I think that the fact that we have to then look at ourselves and think about our experiences with these movies, that makes it scarier, and that makes it a lot more effective because you are putting yourself in these moments.
So hopefully with these experiments, I'll learn a way to bring her back.
All right, let's get to the ride. The
All
last
right.
ride. I mean, I kind of already mentioned it, but I think that because this movie is almost a little bit of a mystery of trying to figure out what's going on, and that's how a lot of their movies are, of like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why? Where is this going to go? I think it does a great job of making it entertaining the whole time because we as the audience are trying to figure out this mystery and unravel this tangled mess that they've presented us with. And that just makes it engaging the whole time, which I think is great.
I definitely did like the direction that it was going. I think it could have been executed a little bit more through the script. And then just that ending was just, it threw me off. I was gonna be able to really forgive a lot of the things because like I said, I like the story. I like what we were doing. I'm finding out that I do like time travel kind of films and sci-fi.
They're converting us.
Yeah. And I ultimately like the way that they do their movies. Although they're not like seamless to me, they're not like the best thing ever. I still think about the first two movies quite often, and I'm pretty sure I've said that before. But yeah, just that ending, fucking goddamn fucking hell.
Big bugaboo.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hated it. I literally, let me grab my notes. I said, I do not like this. Not a fan.
Well, that sums it up right there. That's it. They're dealing with a lot of very high concepts, and it's really hard to present these concepts like time travel and all this kind of stuff without feeling like they're really beating us over the head with it. And you're right. I think at times, like, there's moments in all three of these movies that we reviewed where we're kind of just like, It gets to a point where you're like, why did we have to do that? But it's tough. You know, I think the concepts that they are choosing to deal with inherently are tough to present like that and get to that point. So I do agree. I think that there's a couple cringy moments in these movies, all of them. But the fact that they're trying to tackle these big concepts, I got to tip my hat to them just for that fact alone.
Do you have a crush on them?
It's tough. I got a crush on both of them. Yeah.
Both of them at
Justin
the same
Benson,
time.
Aaron Moorhead. Call me. We got a number. We
do. Goodness.
Synchronic.
Synchronic.
2019. The first movie that we reviewed in season 3.
Yeah, I know where you were going. I was like, what? Oh.
Yep. Well, time is an illusion. Let's get to these Smash Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Let's smash them up, smash them down. Do you have a number?
I do have a pumpkin over there.
Oh,
I do have a number.
What you got?
I'm going to give it a solid 3.
Nice.
No, you know what? I'm going to give it a 3.5. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to give it that 0.5 because you know, like I it's a little bit more than average. I think it concluded the universe in a way that I didn't see them going. I didn't think we were going to diverse into the synthetic drug to continue the conversation, like we mentioned, about the cyclical kind of thing that, to me, in their previous films have been the scariest part about the films. So to introduce something such as drugs to be this concept, a further concept about how you can absolutely remain stuck, what I think was very successful. And, you know, if you're talking about time travel, no matter how you do it, it's going to be very fantastical. So I like the way that they perceived it. Was a fan of that. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 for that.
Yeah.
But that ending and you killing the fucking dog.
You really shot yourself in the foot on that.
Don't
one.
forgive you.
No.
And I'm staring right at you, okay, brothers? No, they're not brothers. They're not brothers.
They're not. They're our brothers.
They are brothers.
Yeah. They're our brothers. We like you.
Wait, ew. You just were kissing them and telling them that no.
Whatever. Brother love, huh?
Oh, God, I have to remind myself.
Careful of that cactus.
Oh, God.
I was going to give it a 3.5 as well. I think you're totally right. I thought this was a great movie. And then as we start talking about it, there's definitely some things that stand out of like, maybe this wasn't so successful. And then that ending, you know, it's really, that sticks out to me most because that is a choice that didn't need to happen. All these other things, you know, to me, it's tough to talk about time traveling, and it gets to a point where it can feel very spoon-fed, but the ending itself, where they made that choice to end it like that, they could have chose something different that I feel like was as satisfying and wrapped up the story, but didn't need to be that hokey. It didn't need to be that like handshake, fucking the past and the present coming together, and
fucking the past and the present.
Yeah, I agree. I think that with all their movies, really, I really, really enjoy them. Like, I really, really like the cinematography, and I like the concepts that they're playing with. They're just really hard to make movies about. And I got to give them props for trying.
Yeah.
For sure.
They definitely had a much larger budget.
For sure.
I mean, they casted 2 really well-known actors.
Yeah.
And Anthony
Mackie
could carry he's a fantastic actor. In this, I like the characters at like this. I think he acts them really well.
Yeah. There's not much range he can do in Falcon, but
yeah,
I was
gonna say, I'm like, I can't say that he's a really good actor because I haven't seen him in like a range kind of thing. Like, it's just been this and fits well.
Yeah. And he's still jacked as fuck in this.
God damn. I'm like, you don't need that bat to smack that guy that broke into your home. You got those guns.
Yeah, you're fine.
And your legs?
Yeah.
Sir.
You could scissor kick that guy in half.
Literally just like wrap him and just squeeze, and you would, like, guts would be flying out of his mouth.
Yeah. Synchronic.
Wow. Synchronic.
2019. Wow. Thank you for bringing us into the 3rd season. I thought that was a pretty fun way to bring it in. Should we see what we got on the docket for the next one? Let's.
Oh, that was too high. Maybe.
Let's bring up this bucket. Oh, we're gonna have to make it a little more reachable next time.
Yeah.
We're still learning the set, y'all.
Yeah.
But we did get a larger bucket. If you didn't notice, it is massive.
It is really wide. It looks short, but how many do we have? Have we reached the 1,000 yet?
I don't think we reached the 1,000, but I think today we put in 200 extra ones. I think we're probably around 500 or 600. You dropped.
This
one.
is crazy.
Oh no.
No, I think it is your turn.
Is it?
I believe so. I think I'm the one that.
All
picked
right,
it.
I'll do
Who
it.
knows?
Here we go. I'm going to the middle.
The middle.
The middle bottom.
I'm gonna go to the middle.
This is it. Here we go. What's going to be the second episode? After a member of a geological research team who was sent to Saturn's largest moon, Titan, crashes their spacecraft into a space station, another team is sent to Titan to investigate, not knowing the terror that awaits them. More sci-fi, huh?
Titan.
Creature. From 1985. Going back to the 80s.
All right.
Cool. We're going to go to space.
I had a little puppy, which was named Titan,
Oh, cute.
but in Spanish, Tintan.
I hope we get some cute puppies in this one. As long as they don't die. As long as they don't die.
Okay. I will
just be
accept
cute.
them only alive
Yeah.
and not left behind.
No.
Ohana. Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind
Fair.
and forgotten.
Thank you, Stitch. Thank you.
And that means that's my best like
Yeah, we don't do impressions here.
not at all.
I've given up on impressions. All right, cool. Well, until next week, let's get out of here, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we got a phone number that you can reach us to. 773-669-6677. Text us, call us, leave us a wonderful story about how you got into horror or a supernatural story. We love spooky.
We love
Just
spooky
anything
stories.
spooky.
Also, any suggestions for movies we should put in the bucket? We got a lot in there, but we still got room for more.
Yeah,
So.
just message us and be like, "Hey, I saw this movie, and I want to give it my review. Have
hear
you
it.
guys seen it?
Yeah.
I don't know. We want to hear about you guys,
I hear
please.
all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can follow me and Color Me Leslie.
And me at BP Pritchie T. Also, check us out at the Deadlights Pod.
Deadlights.
But until next time, let's get spooky. Ooh, season 3. We are gonna go through season 3.